welcome to Leaders of Tomorrow, India's only daily television platform for small businesses. We bring you the right information to empower you, the SME entrepreneur. Tonight on the show, part one of a special exclusive conversation with the President of NASSCOM, Debjani Ghosh, talking about digital for small businesses, what some of the biggest digital trends are when it comes to the industry and what the way forward is when it comes to technology and the intersection with business here in India. Take a listen. Debjani, such a pleasure having you with us here on the Leaders of Tomorrow for this special conversation. And it's even more exciting because we're one of the first channels that you are speaking with, talking about the footprint of technology and talking about technology for entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for speaking with us tonight.
Absolute pleasure.
I want to start by talking about something very interesting I picked up from your Twitter profile. You said technology is not the magic, the people who are using technology is, and that's an interesting statement, if I can call it that, from the President of NASSCOM. Maybe I want to set the ball rolling by talking about your own vision when it comes to how technology is likely to pan out, perhaps, for industries over the next few years.
I wish I had an end goal in terms of what it will look like. The way technology is changing today, right? We have not experienced that pace of change ever in our lives. I mean, what is most fascinating is that emerging technologies like AI, like blockchain, etc., are actually in a few years, by 2020, the pace of adoption is going to cross the exponential rate, which is crazy. I mean, coming for me, someone who comes from a semiconductor background, you know, we live and breathe the exponential rate of growth, which is where you double every year, but the price comes down by half, right? And when you apply that to other fields, I mean, if you applied that to the automobile segment, it means that you could pretty much run a car with 1 gallon of gas for the rest of your life, right? So it's just mind-boggling what it means. And that's the pace of adoption that we are dealing with. I don't think anyone can sit here and predict what the future will look like, because the possibilities that it's opening up, from cancer cure to making education accessible to every single child on this earth, to getting healthcare to every single person on this earth, to increasing productivity. It's about imagining what can be possible and then having the skills, having the ability to work on that. Sure. I think the way my vision is that we are entering an era of possibility thinking at its best. It's limited by our ability to imagine. It's limited by our ability to dream big. It's limited by our ability to go and take some really big risks to make things happen. The technology is there. It's really up to us in terms of how we use it or how we misuse it, and what we want to do with it. And I think, you know, all this talk about technology that AI and others are bringing in, the fourth industrial revolution as we call it, we make it all about technology. But I strongly believe that what it is going to do is bring the focus back on humans. Because in this era, we have to figure out how do humans differentiate.
Okay.
It's going to be one of the biggest challenges.
Sure.
You know, it sounds a bit like science fiction right now, but that's going to be the reality. It's going to bring back the focus on humans. It's going to bring back the focus on the soft skills which differentiate humans from machines, and our ability to work with the machines, to use the machines. So yeah, it's extremely interesting. And I think the last piece for me is, it is not about any single piece of technology anymore. What you have is an array of technology that is capable of doing things that you've not done till now. The magic is, how do you orchestrate? How do you use these together? That's where the power is. So as humans, what we have to start thinking about is, what are the problems we want to solve? how do we orchestrate the technology that is available to us to solve these problems, and how do we coexist? I think that those are some interesting challenges that's facing us.
Okay, so you're saying that you wish you had that sort of end goal in mind, that big picture, perhaps the end goal as far as technology for entrepreneurs is concerned. But not too long ago, NASSCOM has said that you expect the IT industry will create nearly 2 lakh jobs in this current fiscal. In what areas do you see those jobs being created?
We've identified 9 technologies that will have the biggest impact on new job creation in India. These 9 technologies roughly lead to around 55 new job roles. For example, data analytics, and you have robotics programmers, you have data scientists, etc., etc. So there are 55 new job roles. And this is across from IoT to AI to robotics to data sciences to cybersecurity to blockchain. You will see jobs getting created across each of these technologies, right? The challenge is not, are the jobs getting created fast enough? Because they are. If you just look back the last few years, take the last 10 years, I can start naming so many different jobs which didn't exist 10 years back. Uber drivers, they didn't exist 10 years back. Social media managers, they didn't exist 10 years back. So jobs are getting created, and they're getting created very fast. The challenge we are going to have is, do people have the right skills to handle these jobs? And I think instead of being focused, frankly, I believe that as a nation we obsess too much with job loss. We're missing this huge opportunity that's lying ahead of us, which is the new jobs that are going to get created, and created very fast. And we are just not doing enough today to reskill the workforce and the pipeline so that they are ready for these jobs. And I think as NASSCOM, that is job one, frankly, for us.
Do you see these jobs being created at all levels? Is it going to be both at entry level as well as high end? You're talking of some of the fields, but across the board?
These jobs will get created across.
Okay. There's always the fear, and this conversation has been going on for a few years in terms of the job loss. When it comes to having increased automation in the industry, some of India's biggest IT companies are saying that they will ramp up their workforce and also look more at automation. And as they become more increasingly, more of their tasks become automated, then perhaps they're not going to add as many people as they were in the past. But you're saying, don't worry about that, look at the jobs that are being created.
So automation it's not just IT companies. It's banks, it's hospitals, it's retail, it's government. Everyone will have to embrace automation because of the gains it gives you in terms of productivity, in terms of efficiency. The routine jobs that we do, we don't need to spend our time doing those anymore, because machines can do them faster, machines can do them better, right? So automation is a fact of life. It's going to happen. It will displace jobs. At the same time, new jobs are going to get created. And if you look at all the research to date, you will see that every single research calls out the fact that net, more jobs are going to get created than jobs that will be lost. So what we should be worrying about is, how do we get the people reskilled so that they can move from the old jobs or the routine jobs to these new jobs? I think that's what needs the focus today.
Okay. Time for a break, but when we come back, I continue bringing you highlights of this conversation with the NASSCOM President, one of the first interviews that she's done with an Indian television channel, talking about digital for small businesses. Do stay tuned. Back in just a short bit. Welcome back. You're with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow, and tonight, continuing to bring you highlights of a special conversation with the President of NASSCOM, Debjani Ghosh. you're talking about the quality of manpower. We'll come back to that. But at this point, I want to talk about the contribution of the IT industry to GDP, 8% for the current fiscal. What's the outlook? Where do you see the IT industry in terms of contribution to the GDP over the next few years?
In this kind of an environment, the last thing I do is start predicting what's going to happen over the next few years, because the world is changing on us so fast. I honestly think, given the way the world is panning out, okay, let me go back, right? As I told you a few minutes back, automation has to be embraced by every single segment. Technology has to be embraced by every single segment. What industry is realizing that the new technologies are giving them an opportunity to gain productivity, insights, which is today if you look at how a business success depends on your ability to understand your consumers better, and is becoming more and more about the experience than the product, right? Now, a consumer experience will be defined by your ability to understand that consumer and how fast you're able to act based on that understanding, right? For that, insights becomes extremely important. That's the most precious asset a business can have, the data to understand the customers. The ability to analyze that data and get the insights out is what will determine competitive advantage. Yeah. Right? So technology is giving an opportunity to businesses to redefine, to disrupt themselves, to redefine, and the gains are significant. So every single company, no matter where they sit, which vertical they sit under, is going to embrace technology, right? That's a given. Now, the one thing we do know about digital transformations is that digital transformation is not and cannot be a solo journey. It requires partnerships. The new world is about co-creation, where you understand the problem and then you find the partners in the ecosystem, whether it's startups, whether it's the IT companies, etc., who will come and co-create the platform or the solution for you, right? The Indian IT companies, given the way they are transforming today, and by the way, I hate calling them Indian IT companies because I think they are as global as any global MNC out there, right? And we should be very proud of it. So the companies that we are talking about, their origin is India, but they're truly global today. They are transforming very fast. Each one of them is disrupting themselves. And they are building skills and capabilities to become that preferred partner for digital transformation for the world. If you look at it today, the Indian companies are working with nearly 75% of Fortune 500 companies. And now imagine as they up their partnership, their engagement with these companies to become a partner in digital transformation, the opportunities are limitless. So I do know that this segment is going to grow from strength to strength. So therefore the contribution to GDP will also grow. But I'm not the ones to throw numbers out there and start predicting numbers. I'd rather create that and make that happen.
Okay, but as far as how the rupee has been moving against the dollar, and it's been quite volatile over the past month or two, the uncertainty and the concern for small businesses then, what would you like through this interview to tell them about how much they should be watching out for that?
Well, I think in our industry, you sort of learn how to deal with these uncertainties because they do happen and we are used to it. Now, we would all love a situation where the dollar, where the rupee is stable. We would absolutely love to see that kind of a situation. But most businesses, especially in our world, build these into their practices. I think it's best for us to assume that there's going to be a fluctuation and build that in. I honestly, I mean, we've been dealing with this for so long. It's sort of factored into how we do business. You live with it.
Okay. I want to talk about small businesses which are looking at future technologies, whether it's virtual reality, whether it's augmented reality, whether it is, the cloud, etc., and understand from you your advice for them. small businesses looking at these technologies and saying, how much of this perhaps should I be looking at for my own business? How much of it should I hire specialists that I may not have the budgets for, but being able to hire these specialists in my business? What's your advice?
So two things. One is internal transformation, and the other is what kind of platforms or solutions do you build, right? Internal transformations, I think most of the small businesses have to realize that if they don't automate or they don't build the basic skills, they are going to lose out, right? Because in the new age, not in the new age, in today's world, competitive advantage again is about how well you understand your consumers, how well you can service your consumers, the insights, the ability to get closer to the customer. Technology just offers you ways to do this better than you've ever been able to,
sure.
Right? So embracing technology, no matter whether you're in the manufacturing company or a textile company or whatever, technology is the new given. It's sort of blending into the basic fabric of business, every business. And SMEs cannot fight that. You have to embrace that. You made a very interesting point. How much do they build and how much do they buy, partner, borrow, right? And I think that's the new world. It's about co-creation. You don't have to build everything yourself. What you need is the right mindset, and yes, you have to have some basics, but today's world is about ecosystem partnerships. It's about joint IPs. It's about figuring out strategic partnerships, right? And I would embrace SMEs to really start looking at the opportunities that the Indian ecosystem provides, both in terms of startups, and we have some fascinating startups, the large companies which are always looking out to partner with the ecosystem, both Indian as well as the MNCs in India. There are tremendous opportunities for partnerships which have not existed before. And that's being driven by the technology advancements. Okay. So I think it requires a mindset change.
Okay, so when you're talking the mindset change, the Leaders of Tomorrow does 20 grand events across India. And when we meet with entrepreneurs, one of the things that they tell us about technology is the cost associated with technology. Yes, there's the cloud, for instance, that is accessible to them, but it comes down to maybe not understanding the basics of technology and also the mindset change. What's going to change that? Do you think the second and third generation of small businesses then are going to be driving that change?
See, today's generation, forget the business for a sec, let's just take today's generation of kids. They're born with technology. And as they grow and enter the workforce and enter, whether they become an entrepreneur, where they start something or join an SME or become an SME or join a big company, they're native digital users. So a lot of the stuff that worries, maybe not you, but worries my generation about technology, not going to exist with them, right? I really think the one thing that is needed, and that does worry me, is the notion that, okay, when I grow up or when I start working or whatever, this is what I need to know. That end goal post is not going to exist anymore. Because how fast technology is changing, that end goal post is going to change pretty much daily. So you have to be on a path to learn every single day. The talent that we will be looking for as an industry, frankly, is going to be, yes, there has to be some basic foundation, STEM, engineering, but we'll be looking for people who show and who have successfully learned new skills and who show the ability to continue to learn new skills. That's going to be the biggest demand factor. And I think what my only advice is, make learning a lifelong habit. It's what differentiates people. It's what will differentiate people.
Speaking of which, I want to refer to a survey that NASSCOM did a few years ago where it said just 20% of all students coming out of colleges have the skill sets for the jobs that they're applying for. Have things changed really in the last few years?
I think it's, forget about students coming out of colleges, you look at even people in the workforce, and you look at the new jobs and the new skills that are coming up, most of us do not have the skills, and we have to reskill ourselves. We have to figure out what are the new skills and quickly learn how to get familiar with them. So the need to get reskilled and the need to get skilled is more urgent than it has ever been before. And again, I keep repeating myself, but we have to understand that the pace of change in technology is something we have never dealt with, and it is huge. It's making a huge difference to our lives. And there's no way we can figure it all out. The best we can do is try and stay in sync with it, right? And to do that, we have to continuously learn. So the whole concept of I'm going to finish my college and I'm going to know what job I want and I'm going to know how to do it is going away. I think more and more my expectation from educational institutions is build the basics. Build the basics, build the ability to problem solve, build the ability to work in teams, build the basics of science, maths, get coding done. I mean, they have to know how to code, right? I think the entire educational system needs to relook at what they are doing in order to, I think Jack Ma famously said, right, the only job of that education institute should focus on is creating humans that are differentiated from machines and know how to use machines. That should be the role.
That's all we could manage to pack into part one of this special conversation with the president of NASSCOM. But we had a very exciting conversation when it comes to the role of women leaders and women entrepreneurs in India. All of that on part two of this conversation. Do stay tuned.
We care so much about the returns, right? Every investment we make, we look at the returns, the potential. That's what. Now, research after research after research has shown that for every dollar that you invest in a startup that's headed by a woman, the returns are higher. In fact, there was the latest research which showed that for a dollar invested, a woman, an entrepreneur or a startup headed by a woman entrepreneur gives back around 71 or 78 cents.
That's all we managed to pack into part one of this special conversation with Debjani Ghosh, the president of NASSCOM. But we will be bringing you the second part of this interview. If you have any feedback on part one, here's how you let us know. leadersoftomorrowtimesgroup.com is our email ID. You can also get in touch with us on our social media pages. Our Twitter handle, Sunanda_J, is my Twitter handle. You can get in touch with us on LOT_ET now or our Facebook page, Leaders of Tomorrow on ET Now. Thanks for watching. Have a good night.